Hi, it's Brad with Horse Trailer Post. So I wanted to just go over how to effectively negotiate using the tools on Horse Trailer Post platform. I think you'll find these to be really beneficial for buyers and sellers. So at this point, hopefully you have created your purchase request. You've gone through and even maybe funded your account with some escrow funds there just to sort of let sellers know that you are indeed serious, and perhaps you may have even received some offers. So I am logged in as a buyer right here, and I have created a purchase request. If I'd like to take a look at that, let's see if I just click on right here. So I did go through, and you'll notice that I made selections on almost all of the available features. I don't want a hay pod. I do want a hay rack. I want horse padding. I was very specific in the things that I am looking for, right? So if I'm going to spend 20,000 bucks, you certainly want to take the time to go through and let sellers know exactly what you're looking for. All right, so I'm all good with that. Everything looks really nice to me. I'm just going to sit back and wait now as a buyer for sellers to respond. So I'm also logged in as a seller. Of course, I can do that. And I just want to show you what sellers see. Okay, so as a seller, I happen to have a bumper pull slant load with dress to offer. I don't really care how far it is from me because I'll drive all over the country, and the one that I have is 2 horses, so I'm going to do a search. Okay, and you'll notice it comes up for the this is actually the request that I submitted as a buyer, number 329. I can't see who the buyer is. I can't see where the buyer is located. I can see, and this is why the mileage is important, I'm 730 miles from the buyer. The buyer's willing to travel 150 miles. Isn't that awesome? And I need to travel 580, and the buyer's looking to spend 15 to 20,000 bucks. So if I click on this as a seller, and again, I'd like for you as a buyer to see what the seller sees and vice versa there. So if I go ahead and click on this as a seller, now I can see everything that this buyer is looking for, and so I'm going to offer a sale to the buyer. And I'd like for you to just see what this process looks like so you'll understand. Now I'm going to choose to allow the buyer 1 hour to respond. I'm very busy as a seller. I don't have all day for the buyer to make their mind up, okay, because I have other folks interested in my trailer. So I'm going to give the buyer an hour to at least respond to me. And the buyer has agreed to travel 150 miles, so we're 730 miles apart. I'm going to ask the buyer to travel 350, okay? And then once that happens, you'll notice the X changes to a check mark there. If there's something that I'm not familiar with, I could easily click on the question mark right here, and the site will give me an explanation as to what this is. Buyers willing to spend 15 to 20,000 bucks. The price of my trailer is 19.5. Mine is a used trailer, and it is all American. So I'm just choosing some things here. It is a 2-horse. I agree with that. No, excuse me. I agree. Mine is white versus black. All right, so I'm just going to go through and agree with most of these things for time's sake, and close that so that you as a buyer can see. All right. Now notice that I as a seller, I have the option to agree with your request, or I can counter that. And of course you'll be able to see that once it comes back to you. This is really cool because you can specify whether the walls are insulated, the dimensions of the trailer, even the condition of the trailer. I'm going to say no. So So you can see it does take some time for a buyer, excuse me, for the seller. So it's important to that you're accurate in the information that you're putting in. Now, I have to, as a seller, I have to specify the condition of the bearings and brakes, the condition of the tires, even what that I will guarantee functions or does not function on the trailer. You need to know the tire size and all of that information. So that's all included. So I'm going to press create an offer. Overall length is required. My trailer is 15.6 and create several fields have left is not specified. Great. And I'm also going to upload some photos. Let me just grab a few pictures here on a used trailer. Okay, so open, and it uploads those photos very quickly and easily for the seller, and I'm done. Alright, so you heard the ding. That is for me as a buyer. Wow, a new notification has arrived. Click to view your inbox. So if I go to my inbox and I click on that, there are the photos. Of course, I could easily scroll through those and take a look at them. I can see, so this is me, the buyer. I still haven't put any funds in my account. My request was $15,000 to $20,000. The seller offered me a unit at $19,500, and seller will travel 380 miles. So I've got to travel 350 miles. Okay, and then here's all of the information laid out nice and neat. I had requested a black trailer as a buyer. The seller offered a white one. I had requested, so right here, the type of door. Here's the seller's offer. So you can see the things that easily were agreed to, and then the things that were not agreed to. For example, the roof, I had requested insulated aluminum, and the seller says it's a non-insulated, hand-painted. So you could go through and quickly see, which items the seller was able to meet and which items the seller is not able to, and of course even the information about the lights and tires and things of that nature. Alright, so I also have 57 minutes, almost 56 minutes now to respond. So the seller gave me an hour to respond to this request, which is more than enough time. I could send the seller a message, okay, which is really cool chat feature here. Message from Brad the buyer. And I'm going to also, yeah, you can see that I'm also logged in on this screen as the buyer, and it shows that message instantly on my screen as a buyer. And of course, I don't have any indication who the buyer is. I don't know where you're from, how far, I only know how far apart we are, what you're looking for, and so very, very private, and this is a message from seller to buyer. Alright, so you can see you have an instant chat feature that goes back and forth. So I'm going to respond to this offer. And if I look at the chat, there you go. So and if you have multiple sellers, all of you guys will be responding within this window, and also each seller will be able to see what the other seller has offered to you. So if seller 1 has offered you a unit for $19,500, seller 2 may come in and offer you one at $19,200 or $18,500. So you can really see where the competition begins to increase for those folks after your business. Not only that, that's why it's important for you to be well funded in your account, so all of those sellers can see how serious that you are as a buyer. So I'm going to just propose a counteroffer. I'm going to give the seller an hour to respond, and he's asked me to drive 350 miles. I will agree to 250. Okay, and that changes to a nice check mark once I have done something to this field. The seller has offered me a trailer for $19,500 and I'm willing to pay $15,500 for it. So let's just press counter there, and that's done. And I'm fine with this brand, I'm fine with the color, and I'm fine with the length. And I'm happy with the logos. The rear door configuration, I'd like to change that, and so I just make a change here, and notice each time this changes to a check mark. Okay, so you just go through and either agree or disagree with the things that the seller has offered, what you can live with, what you can live without, and make those changes. All right, and I'm going to create my offer and send it back to the seller. So that is done. Now I'm going to log in as the seller. Okay, that's already there. And here is your new offer to me as the seller now. And of course the seller can see, let me bring this up for you. Oh, wrong screen. The seller can see that I had offered as the seller $19,500 and you as the buyer have offered me $15,500, and I had asked for you to drive 350 miles, and now you're saying that you'll drive 250 miles. So this means I have to drive a little bit farther than I had anticipated as a seller, but that's okay. We're still negotiating. I have approximately an hour to respond to you, and I could send you a message, I can accept your offer, I can decline your offer, or I can do a counter offer. And it looks like that the buyer, you as the buyer, have agreed to most everything. So there's hardly anything left that we've disagreed on. Just for negotiating purposes, I'm going to agree with that. I'm going to counter your price. I'm going to drop down to $17,500, and I'm just going to agree. And notice as we agree or disagree on things, they disappear. Okay, so there's no need in really continuing to show and haggle on items that we've already agreed about. So these are the only things that were really left. And I'm going to send that back to you. Give you an hour to respond. All right, and now I'm back as buyer. Yeah, so the main thing, everything has been agreed on. The only thing that is left is the price and how far that you have to drive as a buyer. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this offer. I'm happy with the price as a buyer. And I'm going to give the seller 6 hours to accept it as well. Maybe he or she is out to lunch. Okay, so at this point, it says do not transfer funds, wire payments, your money is safe. Basically, don't do anything. Once I go back as a seller now, voila, you have accepted the request, and I as well. Can finalize this, and I'm going to accept it. And then you as the buyer get something that says your offer to buy a trailer from the seller has been complete, and the seller has accepted it as well. Okay. From there, Horse Trailer Post, we will reach out to you as the buyer. We will also reach out to the seller, and so that you guys can finish consummating your deal, make arrangements for your delivery, make sure that the trailer has the title so that we can transfer that properly. The buyer, you as a buyer, have to fund your account in full in escrow. Sellers are not going to deliver trailers and drive hundreds of miles without knowing that they're going to get paid for their trailer, assuming that it meets the criteria that you guys negotiated on your request. Once all of those things are in place, At that point, you will be able to either pick up your trailer, take delivery, whatever the terms of the agreement are with the seller, and of course vice versa. And then once you have taken possession of the trailer, you've accepted delivery, at that point we will finish closing out the transaction. We will release your funds to the seller, transfer the title over to you. If at any point the deal goes south, you do not take possession of the trailer, no harm, no foul, your funds are safely in escrow, and the seller does not receive your money until you take possession, and those funds 100% belong to you and are funded back to you. Okay, so it's a very safe method of negotiating a deal. And of course, once you accept the deal and once the seller accepts the deal, no other sellers can compete for your business. That's all done, and this is marked finalized. All right. Sorry for the long video. Felt it to be necessary, and any questions, we're certainly here to help. Thanks so much.